Hello, and welcome back to the Quiet Part Out Loud podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Nuvyn.
And today we're here with Linda Olsen, former Global TV news anchor and current United Way campaign co-chair. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and to meet both
So
of you.
delighted to have you here. And we're looking forward to kind of getting into behind the LinkedIn profile and understanding what motivates you, inspires you, challenges you. But first, we always ask our guests the same question. And that is, if someone were to make a movie about your career journey, what type of movie would it be? And what would surprise the audience the most?
What type of movie? That's an interesting question. But the title that popped into my head was It's News to Me. And I think because it speaks to my career, has been almost 40 years as a local news anchor and reporter. So my whole world has been about the news. But also I think it speaks to my curiosity that's one of the reasons why I became a news reporter was I was just curious about things. So if I learned something that interested me or made me question something, I wanted to learn more. I wanted to learn more about it. And the other way it kind of fits in my mind is it was kind of surprising to me. It was news to me that after I stepped out at the end of my career, that portion of my career, I should say, that I would say, wow, I didn't know that I would survive that long and have a career that had such longevity and have an impact, I hope an impact in the community. And that's all been in the last year and a half since I stepped away from the news desk. And the response that I got from people, which I'm very, very humbled by and grateful for, is so many people watched and connected and appreciated the work that I did. So there were moments where I just thought, I'm just doing my job, but maybe in some way it did have an impact. So that's why I thought, wow, it's news to me that maybe I did have that place in the city of Calgary for a lot of years.
Well, you exemplified people's connection to our city, to what was going on, to the evolution of Calgary for so long that, people welcomed you into their lives. And I think that transition, not only for you, but probably for your audience as well, would have been, a bit of a process. Like, walk us through, when did you know it was time, or what inspired you to say, you know what, I'm ready to try something else?
Well, I'll be honest, there wasn't a day that I didn't like my job. There were moments where it was challenging. There was moments where I thought, wow, that was a tough interview, or I'm exhausted today, or there's something else going on in my life. But the job itself, I loved the job. So I'm very grateful and appreciative of that. So there didn't come a point where I was done or tired of it. It was just thinking at some point, am I going to do this till I was going to say 65, but now most people don't retire at 65. They transition into something else. So it's not that that's the deadline. But as you're getting into your late 50s and 60s, which I am now, 61 years old, happy to say, I just started thinking differently. Am I going to stay on the anchor desk till I'm 65 or 75? I don't know. I would really like to try some other things or more of some of the things that I really love about the job. But also just spending time with the people that I care about and love. The fact is that this role is, while interesting and enjoyable and important, is very demanding. It's demanding on your time, your energy, your brain power. I thought it would just be nice to be able to have, I don't know if balance is the right word, but a little more time to have some freedom and flexibility and pause and spend time with my family. My mother is 92 years old. And so I've been really soaking up that time. If I'd rush her to a doctor's appointment, I'd be phoning work and saying I'm going to be a few minutes late. And it impacts her life like it does so many people, right? Who have people that they support and care for. But now we can go for lunch, we can sit and talk, so I can spend hours with her now. So I'm really appreciating that part of it. So I think it was just a process. I've been thinking about it for a little while. What does this look like on the other side? And then I had some opportunities come up where I just thought, now's the time, and I can put a bow on my career at that stage of my career and feel really good about it. And then I was ready to try something not completely new, but like I said, more of the things that I really enjoyed doing, which was meeting people, talking to people, finding out about local issues, especially some of the things that are more profile based, really finding out about people and positive, enlightening things that inspire and lift this city up. I think that's what really resonates with me.
So interesting. I wonder, you've told so many stories for so many years about our city. Does anything really stand out to you as, coverage that really impacted you in the way that you live your life, or a story that you really remember and is stuck in your brain?
There's a lot. I think the ones that always jump out at me are the Women of Vision stories, because I could identify with so many of the women that I sat down with. So for 15 years, I did the series for Global, TV story once a month, and then a column in the Calgary Herald. And it would be a great sit-down conversation. I always had this long list of questions. Sorry. I had this long list of questions, and then we would just sit and talk. And I just loved those conversations because I learned so much from them as well. I think what stood out for me, and it wasn't repetitive, but I kept hearing passion. And so it made me, that's what rose to the top. So there was absolutely passion for what they did. But it can be passion because you're super excited about something new that you're starting or creating, but it can also be passion for a cause, that something has impacted their lives, whether it's tragedy or a change that they want to make in the world. There's passion for that too. So while there was those similarities, what also struck me was how there's so many different paths to achieving your goals and your dreams. And some people are the people who just keep going every day. I would ask them, how do you swing your legs out of bed in the morning, right? What gets you going? And some people have that, they do set goals and they focus and they're very specific about it. Some people just keep rolling. So there's, I think, a lot of different ways that people achieve their goals and their dreams. It could be incremental. It could be these huge aspirations, but there's always, I think, some wisdom in there. And I always got great inspiration from that. The other ones that stood with me are, we had a segment just in the last few years, and it kind of started around the time of the flood and then into COVID. And that was our good news segment. And I thought years ago, wouldn't it be nice if there was a place to go? Either it's a radio show. I pitched a radio show like 10 years ago, or even a segment in the newscast that, at 6:40, I can just take a breath and I can see that there's people doing great things in the world. And throughout a newscast, so generally a local newscast, you try to do that anyway. You try to have a variety of stories, right? These are the stories this is what's happening in the world. These are the ones that are challenging to hear and hit hard, but here's some stories that are a call to action. Here are some that inspire you. So there's always that mix of the kind of day that it's been throughout a local newscast. But I thought it'd be nice to have a place where people can share their stories of, I built a new bird feeder and I got all these amazing birds in my backyard. And I would spend so much time on those stories because I loved them. People would send in their videos and I'd phone them and ask them to describe what they saw. Right. And I just really, that gave me joy, is sharing other people's joy in our good news segment. Those have stayed with me. But also, I think on a more serious note, is some of the stories that impacted people's lives in a difficult way, families that were impacted. I think I'm an empathetic, caring person to begin with, but even more so when you share those kind of stories, it really brings home how important it is to hear what people are feeling and what they want to share, and to cover stories with respect and care and empathy, because it could impact people's lives. And sometimes they want to share, and sometimes it's stories that are more challenging, but that really hit home with me that my 1.5 or 2-minute piece tonight could impact this family's life. So I really need to be careful and delicate about how we report that story.
Throughout the course of your career, you would have been faced with so many stories that would have moved you, would have angered you or frustrated, or, I think the good news aspect is we're missing that in so many aspects of our lives, and just to go to a place where it's like, I can feel good about the world. But how did you handle those moments or those interviews that would have been so raw? Like, how did you protect your emotional well-being?
There were a lot of stories that stayed with me, and I don't know that it was a conscious effort. I think it was a few things. It was that I was invested in the story at the time, but there's also a lot going on, just really from a logistics point of view. And I liken it sometimes almost to a first responder. I'm not saying that that's our role, but our role is that we can be immersed in seeing things and hearing things that's not always shared with the general public. So we have a little bit of a filter because there's lights and there's someone talking to you about what the next story is. So you're watching it along with the audience, but you're also looking ahead to things that are changing in the newscast. It's live, it's progressive, there's things, it's dynamic. So there's things that I think create a bit of a filter. At least that's the way I've kind of seen it over the years. But I do think there's moments where I've been driving home and, for the most part, had about a half-hour drive to get home, and I could decompress a little bit and process it and get home. And I would often share with my loved ones the kind of day it was. I'd like, did you see our lead story? Did you see what happened downtown?
Right.
Did you hear that? And sometimes they didn't. And I was just surprised because I was so immersed in daily news that I thought everyone was, but not everyone is. So I think people sitting at home on their couch, how I envision it is they might watch it a little differently than I'm watching it at that moment. So that I think has probably helped over the years kind of help me weigh the emotional weight of some of the stories and really bring my role to it as a storyteller and sharing it and why I think it's important to share it.
I remember talking to Deb Yedlin once when she was reflecting on her career in journalism and being like, when she started at the Herald, I can't remember the name of the editor at the time, but was like, he asked her, what do you think the purpose of journalism is? And she's like, to discover the truth or to hold accountability to power. And he's like, no, the purpose of journalism is to sell newspapers. And when you are in an environment that is so driven by the bottom line, particularly now, it makes you wonder, what are the stories that are not being told because it doesn't align with a certain value proposition or it doesn't sell.
Yeah, I had similar thoughts when we were doing Woman of Vision, and that's because it was once a month. And so there was a lot of investment in putting this program together, but it's a story that's once a month. So how can you quantify if that's what's drawing people in, and how does that impact your ratings? So it was more of a goodwill project in the community. And the leadership group at the time, who was a woman, the general manager, said that was important to her. She said, I know that we're putting out a lot of time and talent. And then we had a lunch after, and we gave all the women an award. We had sponsorship as well, but we gave them an award and a lapel pin and a big luncheon and shared their stories. But it was a lot of investment in, could you actually determine if it changed ratings, right, for one day a month? But it was part of immersing yourself in the community and saying, this is what's important to us as kind of the hub of the community, a local TV station. This is why we want to be part of the community and share people's stories. So you're right, it is about getting eyeballs on a TV newscast or selling newspapers, but it can be bigger than that too. So I hope we still have the opportunity to tell those kinds of stories.
I used to think I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. When I was in Saskatoon, I spent 2 days. I was after I was in university, I think, with, I don't remember if it was Global or CTV or something at the time, and went in and spent a couple of days with their team just to see if I
Shadowing?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I wanted to do it.
No? Did you say that was Saskatoon?
In Saskatoon.
Yeah, that was my first job. Was
it
Saskatoon.
Really?
Yeah, I went from Calgary to Saskatoon. So I was at STV.
STV, that's what it was.
Yeah, so it was it was in 1988.
I think the level of, to your point earlier, that level of being on all the time. I mean, there must be times where I'm surprised you didn't burn out, right?
There was a few times where I took a little bit of time off And I think it was right when the kids were younger and you're
Like that intensity.
not sleeping, right?
Yeah.
If I was doing the 11 o'clock news and you get home at 12:30, 12:45, do the dishes, make banana bread for the breakfast.
Right.
It was just, it was
off in the morning.
and getting up early when the kids were up to go to school. So it was what I wanted to do and to be part of that. But yeah, I think you can only take so much as well that your body starts to shut down a little bit. So there definitely were times that I took, whether it's around mat leave or there was time where I took a few months off, I just needed to pause and get healthier again. So that's absolutely part of it. But the always being on part, that's real. That's true.
Yeah.
You think of going to the grocery store with your kids and people stopping to talk with you. And I feel very grateful because it's, for the most part, always been positive. I mean, to think for almost 40 years, I've been in this community and people generally have been really positive and respectful, and I appreciate that. And I know it's the people who like you who will generally talk to you. So I'm not pretending that everybody likes me, but it's been a positive experience.
They you, and they probably want to tell you their story or something that moved them about
Totally.
a segment that you did.
Yeah, exactly. And then I would encourage them to share other stories. What's important to you? What more do you want to hear? That kind of thing. But you kind of feel like you're on. You can't just wander around and not paying attention because you know that people are kind of might be looking at you, right?
Yeah.
So,
would you say you're an extrovert?
No.
So then it would be extra hard. Yeah. Yeah. Draining.
I can put myself out and feel comfortable in it. I can bop up on a stage of 1,000 people and feel comfortable and welcome everybody. But I think when you think about what gives you joy and peace, when you say, would you like to be at a party with a whole bunch of your friends, or would you like to be at home by yourself reading a book?
Yeah.
Probably be home by myself. Feels like it's less energy output. I can summon it, but it's not always where I want to be.
Yeah. What's, the news and journalism in general has evolved so much, particularly in the last, 5-10 years, and with social media and where people are getting their news and their content. What concerns you about some of the trends or things that you see in the news from a standpoint of, I don't know how many people sit at home and watch the 6 o'clock news now. They're probably just scrolling through, and whatever pops up on their feed is their news.
Mm-hmm. And we know it's an algorithm. We know that the content, the more that you look at something, that's what you're going to see. And I know there's other sources. I'm aware of other apps in development where they're trying to change that a little bit so that, there's not as much of a filter, that you can have a more broad variety of getting your information.
Mm-hmm.
But what concerns me is the association with, I don't know if you call it mainstream media, but experienced journalists whose job is to verify, get two sources on everything. Everything is vetted. That process is a little bit different than just content creation. And I think there's people who now are associating them together, and opinion content. So I've had people say to me, oh, I heard this on one of the other TV stations that are more commentary, or I heard an announcer on the radio station that does more commentary. They said this, and they question it. And I said, well, that's commentary. And they are encouraged to share their thoughts because that evokes conversation, because there will be people who agree or disagree and they have different points of view. That sparks a conversation. That's different than your newscast at the top of the hour or the bottom of the hour.
Yeah.
So I think people consider sometimes just overall content as factual news. And we know that that's not always the case, because where are the sources? Where are they getting it from? Is it their opinion? Are they talking to somebody who has a very specific point of view? And now seems like it's fact. So I've said this since I was a student in school or just about to graduate, that I hope people get their content from all kinds of sources. And way back then, I would say, read magazines, listen to the radio, watch your local news, everything. Get a whole bunch of sources, because that will help shape your views, whatever it is. And I've always, celebrated people on all the entirety of the political spectrum. I'm all happy to see change in government too. It's just what the people want is what's important. So if you're informed, you have a broad view, and you shape your views based on what's resonates with you and what's important for your family, then I'm happy with that.
So in this next chapter, what tell us what you're up to. What are you taking with you? What are you leaving behind? I know you've got this new role as campaign co-chair at United Way. So how did you decide to make those strategic steps?
I took a little bit of time after stepping away. And one thing that I learned about myself, I think, was that I can operate at a slower speed.
That I don't have to vibrate.
Oh my goodness, what is this?
It was really good. And I had moments where
Very therapeutic, I bet. Hey?
I can listen to somebody and not just interject, and listen and think and respond, and just overall be a little bit calmer and not be vibrating. And I didn't think I was that person, but I was, because of the nature of the work that I did and how immersed I was in it. So I was consuming news content from the time I woke up in the morning. To start my day early, I would call into the news meeting, and then I'd go to work and start my shift, and then I would be immersed in it all day, and then come home and watch the news at night. And so I was always thinking about what's happening, what's transpiring, how do we cover it, what's important. So to just really tune out for a little while was really important. Then I started thinking about, what skills do I have? And I'm still figuring that out, because you do one thing for so long. But to me, it feels like it was such a niche role that how do I transition that into something else? So now I'm in the process of picking out the parts that I really, really love, which is meeting people, talking to people, finding out about their interests and their causes, and in some way sharing those stories. So I've been doing hosting and emceeing and public speaking, and doing a radio show and podcast now. So it feels like it's starting to come together, and that's kind of the path that I'm on. But I'm always open to new opportunities and just to see where it evolves.
I'm so surprised to hear that you are trying to figure out what skills you had. That is shocking to me.
It's an eye-opener, because people have said that to me, and I've said it over the years. Like I said, I'd been thinking about this the last however many years, thinking, well, what do you do after this, and what do you transition into? And I've seen other people in my role as journalists transition seamlessly, just do a fantastic job, and they go into communications, and I think I still have a bit of imposter syndrome, and I say, well, I don't do what they do. They're better at this, that, and the other thing. So I think I've had so many great people who've been positive and supported me and said, oh, you can do anything. You've got all the skills. But when you start to look at it, and you start to look at those LinkedIn jobs, you're like, I can't do any of that stuff. I know what I can do, but I'm figuring out how to broaden some of the real technical skills that I need, right? And the experience in some areas. So I'm a work in progress.
That is, I'm stunned, actually. I can say. Do you think that, sorry, the first thing that comes to my mind is I bet if you were a guy, you wouldn't be thinking of that. You'd be like, I got that job already. Yes.
It could be, because I feel like I'm a confident person, so I don't feel like I'm not confident. It was just how do you put into words what you've done for so many years, and how does that transition into something completely different? So yes, I could absolutely walk into another TV station and sit down and get to work and do what I've done for so long very comfortably. But what is it that I bring to the corporate world, or speaking, I can do those kinds of things. But it's really thinking about, what else can I do? Am I capable of doing? What else should I learn, get more experience in, and find the things that really resonate with me? And I think that's where I'm at now is, I just want to, not that I just want to be happy all the time, but I really want to make a difference.
Right. And finding out what brings you joy.
Yeah.
Right. And what motivates you and keeps you going and through this next phase or iteration of your life. When you think about things that you're passionate about, tell us a little bit about your involvement with the United Way campaign.
I was so honored when they reached out to ask me to be campaign co-chair. I've obviously known a lot about United Way for many years and followed the work that they do in my role as a journalist. I would go to the campaign kickoff, or we'd do the announcement at the end of the year of how much money they raised, and see some of the stories of the grassroots work that was being done and the challenges. So to step into it from this role, even more so behind the scenes as a volunteer campaign co-chair for this year, it's been really eye-opening and enlightening, and it's touched my heart because I've had the opportunity to go to some of the recipient agencies and see what they're doing and see the impact of the generosity of Calgarians. I think I don't know if it surprised me, but it's an eye-opener in that we always know that there's been a percentage of the population that's been challenged and needed support and care from other Calgarians through United Way or however. Um, but now to know that that's growing, that there's our friends and families and neighbors who are really finding things challenging to meet their financial um, needs, and that has been a real eye opener for me. Whether it's people attending the food bank or not being able to pay their bills, that concerns me. But at the same time, I see the work that the people at United Way and the volunteers that are part of it are doing, and they care so deeply. It's not just a job. I mean, I don't think you go into the social sector, to
Right. Yeah.
to make $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. To make a lot
Well,
of money.
yes, you go in because it's in your heart and you care deeply and you want to see the impact and make a difference. And those are the people that I've had the chance to work with, and the volunteers from the cabinets and the board and all the people who are involved on ground level making a difference. They do it because they know the need is there. And when you see those stories, when you see one person who's uplifted, who can turn their life around and get on a healthy path, that's better for them and their family and then their community. And then it trickles down. It helps the city. We want to be a healthy city that supports each other.
I was reading some data about generosity in Canada, and in particular in Calgary, and certainly the level of generosity and philanthropic support that the United Way receives from Calgarians, like per capita, is like one of the highest in North America. This city, when I moved here, I was struck by the level of commitment that people feel and the level of responsibility that they feel to give back to a community that has provided them with so many opportunities.
I agree. And I think that's, we've always been that friendly city, and I still hold on to that. I still take note almost every day. Somebody holds the door for me or waves in the rearview mirror. It's a bigger city, so maybe it's not all the time, but there is still that caring sensibility here of small town Calgary. We care about each other. We might smile at somebody on the street. So I think that's part of it, that there is a really positive energy here and that we care about our fellow citizens.
Yeah.
But also, I think part of it is from that entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, this is a city that has built and innovated the energy industry and done so much to support this community and the country and beyond, that I think those people are still here. And I've often marveled at that. I've been fortunate to host a lot of events where a lot of the families who've helped build the city and given of their time and their finances, the really philanthropic families, and they remain here. They create a community here because they believe in this city. And I think that that trickles down to all of us, that whether it's on a small level that your $50 is actually going to make a big difference, to those major donors who contribute millions of dollars because they know it will have a real social impact.
I think a city truly is, and a community is defined by how they care about those that are struggling. And it's with pride that I think Calgary continues to shine in that regard. And certainly the United Way has been a key part of making sure that cornerstone of care is there.
And you see the impact. You see the difference they're making, right? If you, and I know they would welcome people to volunteer and to have those opportunities to meet some of the people. Like I said, I've been to the Alex and the Distress Center and learned about some of the youth programs, All In for Youth and Planet Youth, and just to meet individuals and see how it's helped shape their path to a healthier, happier path, it's very impactful.
So how are you spending your non-work hours these days? I know you have 3 kids. Have you developed a new hobby? What what have you invested some time into?
Well, when I first semi-retired from the anchor desk, I thought I'm going to take up pickleball.
Oh, really?
So I took a pickleball class, and I've only played once since I finished the class. But I had so much fun. And what I liked about it, and it seems like a silly little thing, but what I liked was that the class was at noon. And it was just, those little moments strike me when you work long days for so many years. You just think, wow, I can do something in the middle of the day at noon and then go home and visit with a friend or decide what I'm going to make dinner. But it wasn't just high speed all the time, all day for so many years. So I like that part of it. So I'd like to get stronger and healthier and focus on that. I've shared publicly before too that I had a health condition. Well, I still have it. It's an inner ear disorder. It's called Meniere's disease. So it's progressive. So I have some hearing loss in my right ear, and then it's you have vertigo and hearing loss and tinnitus and some things that can make times a little bit challenging, but it is manageable. So, and stress is one of the things that can make it worse. And I have the most fabulous healthcare team. I have a fantastic specialist. He looks so young, but he's so experienced and wise. And he would say, well, stress can kind of impact it. And I say, but I don't have any stress. Because I envision stress as negative stress, not liking your job or having negative stress in your life. But your body doesn't know the difference. Your body is impacted by stress in a different way. Your body just doesn't know the difference between positive or negative. I've often said you can have stress putting on your wedding and moving and starting a new job. It's still stress, but it's a different kind of way. So, but I have noticed that my health has been a little more stable and better since I stepped away from that. So I'm starting to understand more the connection of just that pressure cooker on what can impact your health. So I'm a little bit more focused on that right now and learning more about diet, because you have to adjust your diet a little bit, very low sodium, that kind of thing. So I'm working on that and like transitioning into maybe learning other things that could help me in the next phase of my career.
Probably functioning at such a high level all the time, you probably don't realize until you step away that you're like, wow, that was intense, or that was stressful.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Like the daily turnaround time for everything is.
And my son said that to me too, as I was thinking of winding down and pulling back. And it's you're always firing on all cylinders, even if it's good stress, right? Your cortisol is firing, and your people at work would laugh with me and joke and tell me to slow down because I was always scurrying. They'd say, "Oh, here comes Linda," because you could hear my shoes because I was scurrying down the hall because you're always on the clock. But it's my personality too, because not everybody was doing that. But I just felt the pressure to rush and scurry and to get everything done on time and to be reliable and responsible and not late, and just all of that every day, all day can be a lot.
That's a lot. I'm getting overwhelmed just listening to it.
And you're right. You don't realize it till you pull back and, like I said, slow down and kind of breathe in and enjoy the moments. Someone said to me once a long time ago that sometimes, I don't know if you say it's a type A personality, but you think you can see the edge of the cliff coming. You're like, it's okay. I'll know when I get close to the edge. And you don't realize it till you're hanging on your fingertips on the other side of the ledge going, gosh, I didn't think I was that close to the edge.
Yeah.
So it's being aware and listening to the people around you and maybe implementing some of those things that we often hear now, which is, time for yourself, and whether it's meditation or it's focusing on a better diet and sleep routine and all those things that will help you manage that stress and the pressure cooker in your life.
So knowing that you consume a lot of content, do you have any favorite books you're reading or podcasts that our audience could latch onto?
I'm in a book club
Oh, good.
And this book club is celebrating their 30th anniversary this year.
Amazing.
I've been with them for about 17 years. So they added a couple of new members a few years ago. So I think it's been about 17 years. And so we read all kinds of books. And I love it because before that, I was reading murder mysteries. That's about it. That was my repertoire. That was my away from work kind of decompress. And now there's books that I probably never would choose, but I read it and I realize how beautifully written it is or insightful. Some are a little more challenging than others. So I'm learning more about my style, what interests me, what holds my attention. So it's really broadened my view. So one thing, if you ask about a title, is I tend to forget them too. So I think, what are the ones that have stayed with me? I can picture the books. I just can't think of the titles, but some of them, I don't know, they just resonate so deeply. And I think for me, it's the lyrical, flowery kind of beautiful writing. I think, oh, I wish I could have written that.
Do you have favorite authors or does it change?
It changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's such a variety.
Yeah. I bet that you would have had, like, for 30 years in a book club, like a running list.
Yes.
I hope someone's keeping track of that, because I'd love to get my hands on that.
Yes. So and now I mentioned I'm doing a radio show, and then it's a podcast as well. So it's on QR Calgary in the morning on Saturdays, and then the podcast is available in the afternoon. So the podcast that I recently did was with one of the co-owners of Owl's Nest Books, and Ryan Smith, and he talked about that they have a section in the back where they encourage book clubs to come and put their list up. So in our book club, we do have running lists of every year, which is fantastic because you can go back and think, did we read that?
Right.
Some of us can't remember. So I love that I have this amazing list of books that I've shared with lots of other people too. And then I also interviewed a relatively recently published new author, Natalie Sue, and I'm going to recommend her book to my book club. So it's been a fun way to dig into the literary world here in Calgary, behind the scenes, a little bit beyond what I've done with my book club.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on The Quiet Part Out Loud. It's been great to get to know you a little better and to hear about this next pivot on your journey. And we will be listening to the podcast and the radio show and cheering you on wherever this next journey takes you.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to meet both of you and to learn a little bit more about what you're doing here. I just think it's great. You're sharing great stories, and I think it's so important, whether it's women or anyone else, just elevating people's stories. I think we all take something away from that. So thank you for allowing me to be here with you today.
Thank you. The Quiet Part Out Loud is produced by Access Connects and brought to you by Oh, wait, is there a sponsorship opportunity there? Learn more at accessconnects.com.